Hello everyone, hope you are doing great. So welcome back to the channel. So in this video, we'll be exploring about how to set up Ingress for our Kubernetes dashboard so that we can visualize our application running in the pods. So let's get into the video and first understand how it will look like. So this is how it will look like after the setup. So as we can see here, there are the multiple deployments running, even the pods are there, so even we can visualize the things like is there any error with the pod or they are running fine. Even in the similar way the replica sets are been showing, so in the same way like the services will be available and other ingress or the daemon sets will be available. So let's get into the video and set up the things from the scratch. So we'll be following this particular blog that I have written. I will be publishing this blog soon, so stay tuned for that. So all the source code will be provided to you in the description section. So first we'll have to install the things on our ingress. So first let's understand what exactly the ingress is. So for that we'll be using this image to understand the functionality of ingress. So shout out to the Banzia cloud. So this is how the things work. So this is our external traffic, that is the end user making request. So the request first comes to the ingress, which act as the load balancer. So that will redistribute the traffic along the different services been available. So these services can be of a cluster IP mode or a node port mode. So we are considering here the cluster IP modes. So after that cluster IP service, it will be redirected to a particular pod as it has the port number of that particular pod where to specify the things. So in that way the traffic will be redistributed, and once the pod get the request, it will respond back to the cluster IP, then cluster IP service, then back to the ingress, and then back to the user. So this is how the flow works like. So let's get into the video and set up the things that is required to host our ingress for our Kubernetes dashboard. So first we have to enable our ingress in our Minikube, because I'm using the Minikube as for our cluster, and whereas I'm using the kubectl for running the different app commands for our Kubernetes. So let's copy this thing and paste it on our terminal. So pasted it. So as we can see that Minikube has started add-on feature for the ingress and it's enabled now. So we'll be good to go with our ingress setup. So the next is that we have to set up the rules for our Kubernetes controller, or we can say the Kubernetes ingress controller. So this is how the rule look like. So it's like here we have to provide the API version. So after that the kind is there, like what kind of the manifest file this is. So we are providing the ingress kind of type. So after that we have the metadata, that is the information, the extra detailed information about this particular manifest. So we have provided the name and the namespace. So namespace is nothing but a virtualized cluster inside the cluster, so that we can have the different um, isolation between the different components. So let's suppose there are the two different pods running. So one is for the front end and other one is back end, and we wanted to isolate it for the some reason or the security reason. For in that particular use case, we can make use of a namespace. So after that we have the specification. So you can consider as the rules for our ingress. Here we have written. So in the rule section we have the host. Host means we have to provide the domain name here. So for just now, like we are trying for our dashboard, so it's not the public one registered domain, so I'm just using a random one. After that, once the domain name is provided, so once the user hit this particular domain name, so there should be some routing, right? So in order to do so, we have set up the things here. The backend setup we has done. So whenever the user is hitting this particular domain, it will redirect to this particular thing, that is the this particular service. So it's the by default service been provided by the Kubernetes itself. So So we are just redirecting the things on the port 80. So that was it. So I have already copied this thing into my this particular folder. Let me show you that. So it's available here. Now it's time to execute this particular manifest file. So for executing things, we have the kubectl command. So kubectl apply -f. -f displays that we are making use of a file here, and this is the file. We just have to apply this command. So just copy it and paste it here. So as we can see that our ingress dashboard has been created. So now let's monitor the things. So in order to monitor it, let's display the ingress in this particular namespace. So you must be thinking like, why I consider this a namespace. So let me show you the what are the namespaces available by default. So kubectl get ns or namespace, both works the same. So as we can see, by default the Kubernetes has already provided the Kubernetes dashboard, and this is the one of the namespace we are using. And using this namespace will be attaching our ingress so that we can get a IP address along with the port number, so that we can visualize the things more clearly. Once done, let's copy this thing so to watch the things, because from here by running this particular command we find that there is no address. So let's watch this particular thing. So while watching, we understood one thing, that already the address has been provided. So this is a particular address. So now let's go to the next step. So in the next step, we have to set up this particular IP address. Like we have to provide it to our host so that it can redirect the things internally or for a local server. So I will be explaining that thing. First, let's visit this particular file path. For that, I have just pasted here and asking for my password. I provided the password. So we are into our the /etc/host folder where we can provide the mapping thing. So we'll provide this IP address that we have got. So let's copy this IP address. Okay. And map it with our let's map it with our domain name that we wanted to give. So for us, that is the dashboard.com. Now let's save this. It's done. Now the next step is that we have to hit that particular domain name in our browser, and we will be able to see the dashboard. So let's do it. So it's dashboard.com. Okay, so it's available. So I hope you can see the screen clearly, and here are the two deployment running. The one pod in which like three pods are there, in which one has been failed, maybe because of some error, and the two replica set is running. Because of this deployment, the replica set has been created here. So we can see that the two deployment is the MongoDB and the MongoDB Express is running in our background. So similarly, we can find the config maps here. Similarly, the secrets are available. So that was it for this video, and I hope you find this video helpful. So stay tuned for the more such video, and I will see you next time.